Hello everyone, and you're very welcome back to the Enterprising Podcast by WestBIC. My name is Alison McGonagle. I am the Project and Marketing Executive at WestBIC, and I'm based in Buncrana, County Donegal. And today I'm delighted to be joined with Anne Marie McLaughlin, who is the Innovation Manager at the Inishowen Innovation here in the heart of Buncrana. Anne Marie, you're very welcome today, and thanks for joining me. It's great to see and be in the building itself. And I know that you recently, just 2 weeks ago, had the opening of the premises here in Buncrana. I'd like to say well done and congratulations on all the work to date that's been achieved to get the place up and running the way that it is. And it's brilliant to have you on the show today. So Anne-Marie, you're very welcome. First and foremost, I would like just to ask you to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your role within Inishowen Innovation.
Okay. You're very welcome. Alison, thanks very much for coming to talk to us. So my role as Innovation Manager in Inishowen Innovation is to work with entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, with people who are working remotely and with the local businesses around the whole of the peninsula to increase innovation in Inishowen, so that whether that's helping entrepreneurs to get started, helping them to scale and grow their business, allowing remote workers to have a place where they can have a professional work set up, and also increasing the innovation within existing businesses in the area through connecting them with technology providers and knowledge centres, universities and researchers. So as you said, we had just had our official opening a couple of weeks ago, which went very well. We had a great crowd. It was great to have all the support from the local businesses and all the support agencies and development agencies, as well as our users that are using the building already, and the schools and universities around here as well. So that all went very well. We've been up and running now for a few weeks before that, have people in using the building as hot desk users, remote workers, for project meetings. So it's all going well so far.
Fantastic, yeah, and we're actually sitting in the boardroom here in Inishowen Innovation in Buncrana, and it's fantastic. I can say myself, I was at the opening and there was a great turnout, as you say, with local stakeholders and so on. I suppose just for a little bit of background as well for our listeners, maybe you'd like to go on to say, it was Enterprise Ireland and the Donegal County Council, I believe, but maybe you'll give them a little plug in terms of where the premises came from.
Absolutely, yeah. So the whole beginning story of Inishowen Innovation came from Donegal Digital, which is a public-private project that's been going on for a few years now. So Donegal County Council, ATU, Donegal and Letterkenny, plus some of the local universities, ETB and other supporting organisations like Enterprise Ireland, WestBIC, Western Development Commission, all involved in promoting everything digital in Donegal. And so a few years ago there was an opportunity to apply for some grant funding from Enterprise Ireland to set up a hub. And so the idea of the group at that point was to set something up in the Inishowen Peninsula, since we didn't have something like that. We have small co-working spaces, but not an innovation centre or an innovation hub. So that's where the idea came from originally. And so a few years later, we're here in our state-of-the-art premises, which has gigabit fibre broadband, has excellent facilities for co-working and for entrepreneurs, and has a whole programme of events and activities and interactions with all kinds of organisations that will help entrepreneurs get started, help small business to grow, and help the local existing businesses to scale and use technology for innovation.
Fantastic, Anne Marie. And I suppose you've actually covered a little bit of my next question in terms of what does II or Inishowen Innovation offer entrepreneurs in the area or anyone that comes in your doors?
So I like to sort of tell a story based on a presentation that I was at not long after I took on this role, the end of last year. There was a presentation that I participated in where there was a speaker talking about innovation ecosystems. So he was discussing one of the places that he had worked in that was an up-and-coming innovation hub and was generating a lot of new businesses and startups. So he was describing it as a place where people wanted to live, which was the reason why a lot of innovation was happening there. He described it as a beautiful place with an excellent quality of life, outdoor lifestyle, a strong community, a very connected community, and an educated and talented people. As he was describing this place, it was sounding kind of familiar to me, because especially having lived away for a long time and come back home to Inishowen. I'm very conscious of what we have here, and that it's a place where people really want to live and have, grow and spend time with their family and do all that sort of thing. So as he was describing this innovation ecosystem, as I said, it was sounding all kind of very familiar. So he said then that it was Boulder, Colorado in the US that he was talking about. And it has been recognized as one of the best places to start or grow a business because of the award-winning quality of life, culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, and the collaborative business environment that they have. So essentially it's a place where people want to be, and so they want to live there. So if they're going to start a business, that's the place they want to do it in. So as I was listening to that, I was thinking, it all sounds very familiar, but comparing Boulder, Colorado to Inishowen might be a bit of a stretch. But actually, Boulder, Colorado only has a population of just over 100,000. And Donegal has 167,000. And just within Inishowen itself, there's over 40,000 people. And if you go within a 30-minute drive of here, there's 200,000 people. So the population isn't all that different, and we have all of the other things. We've got the excellent quality of life, the beautiful natural landscape surroundings, a strong community. We have educated, talented people coming from Ulster University, ATU, Donegal and Letterkenny, and all the other educational opportunities that people have with Northwest Regional College and the ETB. So we've got the place, we've got the people. So the only thing we need to do then is to make sure that we have that collaborative environment to combine all those ingredients together to help entrepreneurs. And that's, to me, that's what the hub provides. It's sort of a focal point or a source for entrepreneurs to get all of the services, the supports, the contacts that they need to be able to have a network that will support them from the beginning of their business through to scaling it up and growing as the years go on.
Fantastic, Anne Marie, and I get a real sense of that community aspect is key and core to what you're trying to do here. I've got that from the outset, and a lot of people, very topical at the moment, are talking about the Blue Zone documentary that's on Netflix. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. I still have yet to see it, but they talk about the long life expectancies in different countries such as Japan and so on, and they took a deep dive and researched into why that is. And not to go off on a tangent, but basically it came back to that sense of community, the sense of belonging, and how the human, I suppose it dates back, way back, always needing to be within a tribe or have that sense of a community around them. And I suppose it's the same, aspect that they said that, if the more lonely or solo a person is, the more that can affect them in terms of their life expectancy. And I think that's translated as well into business. And if you're an entrepreneur, again, if you're doing it solo, it's incredibly difficult. If you don't have the right support or even just that community around you, it doesn't even have to be the support agencies. If you're sitting next to someone who's going through the same struggles as you in terms of how to set up a business and get their advice on things, definitely helps as well. Would that outline what you're trying to achieve here in terms of building that community, giving the entrepreneurs that helping hand that they can actually reach out to fellow entrepreneurs, but also then the support agencies, as I know you tap into a lot of them locally here?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was through the things that we've been talking about and interactions with people. One of the statistics that always sticks with me as well is that over 80% of founders of entrepreneurs, founders of new businesses, have either a family member or a friend who also have an entrepreneurial background. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely statistics there that will show that people who interact with other entrepreneurs are more likely to be a successful entrepreneur. Not everybody has the opportunity to have a family member or a friend who's done that. So again, that's where we build up that network and that community where people have the access to the business development supports, but also to the people who can provide moral support, technical support, practical help that will help them to grow a business. Even in the, as I said, we've only been going for a few weeks here, but among the people who are already coming into the building, there are most of them so far are new business owners, entrepreneurs who are just getting started. And even among the small group that we have so far, there's already that kind of interaction and help that they're providing to each other. We just had an example last week where someone was filling in paperwork to apply for something from local enterprise office and had a question about one of the questions he was being asked in that form. So then there was someone else that I know has already done that, has been through that. So I just literally just got the two of them together. He's got a question. Have you answered that question previously? And they started chatting and went through that particular question. But then it turns out they're both actually working on something kind of similar. Okay. They're both working on platforms for different industries, but there's a lot of overlap in what they're doing and, in the technology and how they're setting things up. So they ended up having a long conversation then about how they're doing it and what they're and that's the kind of thing that a place like Inishowen Innovation can provide, that just going to conferences or showing up online to webinars, that kind of thing. You can get connected with the support you might need, but those sort of casual interactions can sometimes lead to all kinds of new things and help and support. So that's a big part of it as well. So to my mind, the main focus of what we're trying to do here is connecting people with each other, with the supports, with Enterprise Ireland, with the local enterprise office, with WestBIC, with Western Development Commission, with the universities, with researchers and all that, but also with each other, because that support, I think, is hugely important as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's been echoed quite a bit this last month or so in terms of trying to get that more joint up approach, and especially whenever even it comes to the support agencies. That might sound like a plug now, but I know from our event, the WestBIC event, Enterprise in 23, that was the main aim. We felt that there was a little bit of fragmentation in terms of even the support agencies not working more closely together in terms of giving a more fluid approach when giving advice. So I think that alongside, obviously having your role in here is, I suppose, signposting and helping those entrepreneurs, but it's quite often overlooked in terms of the more softer support, whether it be just emotional and a bit of self-confidence support amongst each other in a hub like this or in an area like this. I think is crucial as well and often overlooked. There's a wealth of benefits that comes to be in an environment like this, but I think it's shining through that would be probably key. But outside of this collaboration piece, Anne Marie, what are the other reasons that someone should work from somewhere like this as opposed to working from home?
I think the most important thing, along with that collaboration thing, is just exposure as well, to exposure to other people who might be working on something similar or something that's completely unrelated, but you might have some sort of a crossover. And just the general sort of social connection with people as well. I worked from home myself for 2.5 years through, as a lot of people did during COVID and a little bit beyond the end of it as well. And, I worked successfully, interacted with people on video call, but it's just not the same as being in an environment where you can just have casual conversations, or you just sort of like cross over between, or while you're waiting for your coffee, have a little chat and have that conversation. And as well as that, we have a whole host of events and activities that are being run from Inishowen Innovation that will add to all of that. Because of how we're set up and then the sort of network that's involved with Inishowen Innovation, we've got very close ties with, as I said, Enterprise Ireland, IDA Ireland, local enterprise office and all of those, the support and development agencies, but also with ATU Donegal, Ulster University, with research centres, and through ERNACT being involved, they managed European projects. So we have connections through all of Europe as well to different programmes and events and opportunities for businesses to get involved in projects. So not just the sort of casual interaction that you can have when you're in an environment like this, and again, doesn't necessarily need to be full-time. People don't have to commit to being here all day, every day, can come in for a day or a couple of days a week. But we also have, so if someone does come in their early stage or just thinking about it or getting started, what we can do is sort of a needs assessment with them, figure out where they are, what stage they're at, who they could get help from, what kind of signposting, but also the interaction. We actually have local enterprise office host some of their events here. We have other partners who host here as well, so we can provide those interactions. But we're also going to have taster sessions. So again, we have a big focus on disruptive technologies. So artificial intelligence, VR, AR, Internet of Things. We're going to have taster sessions where people can see those things in action. We actually had a little bit of that at our official opening. We had partners from WISER and Letterkenny and from Northwest Regional College who had some, and from ERNACT projects, Innovation as a Service. So they were able to actually show some of the work that they've been doing and some of the projects they're working on. So living lab, taster sessions, doing needs assessments with people to see where they are and where we can signpost them and where we can help them. There's a whole series of events, activities, and from So we have the business development groups that we work with. We're also going to be bringing in people that can provide business supports. So whether it's accounting or tax services, or if it's people who need help with digital marketing or cybersecurity, we have sort of a network of collaboration where we're bringing those people in as well, so that they can provide those other additional sort of behind the scenes business supports as well. So there's a whole host of activities and reasons to want to be connected. As I said, not necessarily here 5 days a week all day, but definitely, be part of that interaction.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that people are coming to see more often, that there are those added benefits. You've even mentioned there quite a range of the different supports on offer. And, for example, there the Enterprise Ireland Gateways, one of which is Pfizer, that is based in Letterkenny. I think, they're arguably underutilised, and it's something that maybe not a lot of founders or entrepreneurs actually know about. So there's the likes of that and a whole host of other supports that, are out there, but sometimes just it's the exposure to that definitely helps. Anne Marie, you mentioned there just, in terms of actually living abroad yourself earlier, I think it was in America, and I'm actually quite interested to hear a little bit about that. But also, just on your return from the States, have you seen much of a change in the ecosystem here in Inishowen and the wider Donegal? As that's, I suppose, key as well, is the fact that setting up Inishowen Innovation, a lot of people would think, God, it's an area that's quite remote or rural, and why now is my question.
Well, having moved back from somewhere, so I came back about 7 years ago, and I probably wasn't, as I was away for 20 years and I was home once or twice a year, I probably wasn't aware because I wasn't looking. I was home and I was on my holidays, I was spending time with family mostly, but I was really surprised when I did come back to stay at how much was going on in the tech and innovation. At that point, mostly my focus was on what was happening in Letterkenny, because that's where most of the bigger organisations were. It's really, as I've gotten involved in this role, that my eyes have really been open to how much is going on that people aren't aware of. And it's literally, starting off talking to one entrepreneur and them saying, have you talked to this person? Have you talked to that person? Do you know her? Do you know her? Do you know him? That kind of thing. And starting to talk to all of these people. And there's an amazing amount of innovation going on that people are just quietly working away in their own homes or in their own offices somewhere that we just don't hear about. There's an incredible amount of innovation going on. And when I've had people ask, because the focus of Inishowen Innovation is on disruptive technologies, and people might have slight concerns that, how much of that is there, or how much, that's sort of, they're disruptive because they're just getting started, they're just emerging. So how much of that is already happening? And I can tell you just we currently have 8 or 9 what we call hybrid members of the hub. So as I said, we've got hot desk facilities for 15 desks for people to either just come in for a book for a day and come in for a day to use it, or if people know they're going to do it regularly, they can sign up for a monthly membership and come in a couple of days a week. Most of the people who have signed up for that and are coming in for a couple of days a week are, as I said, entrepreneurs who are either, relatively new businesses or just getting started. And several of them are using artificial intelligence and some VR as well. As someone said the other day, AI, and people have this fear right now in some cases of AI sort of taking away all their jobs. And what that person who's working in AI said was, it's not that AI is going to take your job, it's that someone who knows how to use and what the benefits of AI are could potentially take your job. So it's a point of education, so we all have to learn what it is, how to use it for good, obviously. But the incredible thing to me is how much of this sort of innovation and ingenuity is all around us that we just, and again, that to me is the great thing about this innovation hub, is that it's a place for all of those people who are, off doing their own thing, to have a place where they can collaborate and get together, and that they can get the help that they need or provide it to other people as well. So yeah, there's a huge amount of innovation going on that's just sort of there under the surface, people just working away, doing their own thing, and some of them incredibly successfully that we don't really just know very much about. So again, it's an outlet for all of that as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think there's great merit in just even having like-minded people come together and have a spot to come together, exactly as you mentioned. So yeah, that actually leads me to my next question. Do you believe there are as many opportunities here in what's deemed quite a rural area as opposed to the more urban centres? As we all know, it's been well enough talked about by now as COVID's opened up all those opportunities. But do you feel, someone based here in Buncrana, and the very nearly the tip top of Ireland, has as many opportunities as someone based maybe in the likes of Dublin?
Absolutely. That, and going back to my whole Boulder, Colorado comparison thing, when I did a presentation on that a few months ago, and I think it was during Enterprise Week, the way that I started that off was to ask, I told them that I had watched one of these, how to do better presentations, and they said, show an image or a sort of something to catch people's attention and ask a provocative question. So my question that I asked was, can you have it all? And it was, or can you have all the things that matter? Which was, can you live and work and maybe start up and run a successful business in a place where you also have an excellent quality of life, where you can measure your commute in minutes rather than hours, where you have the opportunity and the time to enjoy the people that are important to you and enjoy the fabulous assets that you have around you. And I think it used to be, or at least used to be perceived, that was a choice. If you wanted to have a successful career, if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, if you wanted to create a scalable business, you would have to go to a centre of activity, to a city or to somewhere where there were the business networks and the supports to help you do that. But I don't think that's a choice you have to make anymore. We have lots of examples of very successful businesses all around here. There's some major engineering businesses and other types of businesses here. And again, as the last couple of years of COVID have taught us, if they've taught us anything, it's that you can make work from anywhere, depending on the type of work that you're doing. But also, to be successful as a new business or startup, you do need more than a good broadband connection. You need a support network. You need that connection with others. You need all of the supports that are available. And there's a huge amount of supports available. And as you said, you recently had that event where you have all of the different support providers all coming together to make sure that it's easier for people who need those supports to know where to go first, and the fact that all of the agencies are cooperating with each other, I think is incredible in and of itself. And the fact that there are so many opportunities for people at whatever stage they're at, whether it's just an inkling of an idea that they can sign up for a program with Leo, or they can sign up with New Frontiers to determine whether they have something that's a solid business potential, and then grow through all the different supports that are available to them to potentially exporting and scaling up. There's a huge amount of supports, and I think because there is a focus on making sure that people in rural areas have the same opportunities as people in the cities, I think we may even be better off here. And I think again, going back to the theme of community and connectedness, I think there's a little bit of that. We have to do things for ourselves because of where we are and who we are, and I think that is of benefit. When you combine all those things together, I think this is definitely a good place to start a business.
Definitely, and I know in the podcast we've actually talked in another episode about the resilience of people who have to work maybe arguably that little bit harder in terms of making it. But yeah, for sure, I think there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes within the support, the enterprise support organisations, as you said, coming together. But equally, there are still a lot of improvements to be done there to make it easier for the entrepreneur. I'm not saying that one event changes, everything. So, but there is work. I suppose it's reassuring to know that there's work going on behind the scenes on that. And funny as well, just going back to what you mentioned in terms of, do you necessarily have to make a choice anymore? I don't think so. We were recently we were both actually at that event along with a lot of other people. The event Disrupt by the Sea. As we know, Anne Marie, we joked on the way over. We caught a ferry boat across to Rathmullen, and then actually walked 5 minutes on a beach to get to the location. And I don't think many people could say that they've done that to go to a work event. Typically they're stuck in traffic or looking for a parking spot. So I think we're incredibly lucky up here in terms of what we have and the resources we have around us. And yeah, I think it's fantastic opportunities going forward that people can have both that work-life balance and obviously live their lives on their terms. So yeah, I think that says a lot about what Inishowen Innovation is about. The layout of the building itself here the open plan kind of aspect really allows for that collaboration too. I think, was it Kevin McShane was the initial stages of the planning? I suppose I'll let you talk to that, but in terms of coming up with the layout, how did you go about that?
Yeah, I think that the design team did a fabulous job, and it did evolve as things went along and as things changed, and obviously COVID had an impact on getting the building built, but also on how it was built and how it was laid out and everything else. But I think that the design team did a really good job, and made things as open and flexible as they needed to be as well. So we have a wide open space where people who are coming in to use a hot desk or a hybrid desk working together. So they're all there. If someone wants to come in and they need to focus, they can sit and get their work done for a few hours. If somebody wants to have a bit more of the social aspect, they've got a space to do that. We have some small meeting rooms, we have a larger conference room, and we have a collaboration space that is open to the main part of the building, but also has a partition wall where it can be closed off for a separate event.
I particularly like that area, the tiered seating.
Yeah. Absolutely. So flexibility is the key there as well, and being able to adjust and adapt to the types of people that are coming in, the spaces that are being used. We have 2 to 3 person offices upstairs, and we have a large open co-working space. So those spaces are for people who want to, so if it's a small business or a startup that wants to be in the space permanently, they can apply to take over that space. So, but the idea is that even having their own individual office, they're still part of what's going on in the innovation centre. They're glass walls, so they have some privacy, but they're also connected with what's going on around the building. So I think that's a huge factor, and it's a very everyone who comes into the building is really impressed with how open and light and welcoming it is. It's a nice building to come into. It's a nice place to work, which is huge, especially as if we are, along with working with entrepreneurs and helping new businesses to get started and helping existing businesses to use more technology, we're also supporting remote workers and people who work from home generally, or even people who have some sort of a business where they just need a day every now and again to just focus on, sitting on the laptop getting work done. If we're trying to attract those people out of their homes or their workplaces to come and work here instead, it needs to be more than just a desk and a monitor and good Wi-Fi. And I think we do have that here. There's just, when there's a group of people in here, there's a nice atmosphere, and there's a nice flow and a comfort. And we do have sustainable building. We have excellent heating and lighting. We have desks, we have monitors, we've got gigabit broadband. We've got all of those technical things that you need, but it's also a place where people want to come and work and get free tea and coffee, which is also very important.
Yes, of course, the coffee machine's a great addition, in my opinion. But yeah, it's quite often you hear of all these things, but I can actually vouch for what you're saying, as you probably don't even know, but I was talking to one of your current hot deskers, I think, and she was saying that she is a designer, but likewise, as you say, then maybe once or twice a week she'll come in and do her admin type work in terms of her online business from here, which I think is fantastic. And she actually mentioned herself the opportunities she's gotten in terms of talking with people that have came through the doors, whether it be entrepreneurs or support agencies. So I think it's great whenever you hear that from the entrepreneur themselves and see it actually in practice.
Yeah.
I think. So thanks very much, Anne Marie. It's great to get an understanding of what Inishowen Innovation is all about. Maybe one last question that I'll add in here is, if there's any entrepreneurs out there at the moment who maybe have, maybe they don't even class themselves as an entrepreneur yet, they probably maybe shy away from that word, but if somebody's out there listening today and they have an idea, they're very early stage, or maybe likewise, maybe they're further down the road, do you have any advice to them in general?
I think the best thing that they can do is just start having the conversations. I would invite them to just come for a visit, get in touch through the website, email, call, come to the building, come and just have a look around. And I think once people come over the threshold, they generally come back again. Once they get in here and they see what's available to them and have conversations with whoever's here, putting yourself out there, which is probably the scariest thing. But again, I think that's what we're trying to build here, is an environment where people are comfortable with coming here and with talking to whoever they need to interact with. And anyone, we have as I said, Leo's running some of their events from here. We have business supports. And even if we don't have something scheduled, we have the connections with all the different support agencies, with WestBIC and Western Development, Leo, Enterprise Ireland. So we've got those connections that any entrepreneur at whatever stage they're at can feel comfortable, coming here.
Happen, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I suppose then it's maybe for them a little less daunting in terms of you making those introductions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and it's great, I suppose, for anyone out there listening to hear that. I would echo what you said in terms of that is probably the most daunting thing to do, is to actually step outside your comfort zone and take that leap. But I'd like to think it's not as scary as it sounds, and there's people here to help. I think that's the main takeaway that we've been really drilling home the last while, is that people are here to help, but they also want to help. And I think as well, in an area like this, I think people are even more eager than anywhere else to help as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's fantastic. I suppose you touched on there in terms of just reaching out. Just on that point, we will make Anne Marie and the Inishowen Innovation's contact details available on the notes of this podcast episode. Mm-hmm. If anyone would like to check that out, don't hesitate to get in contact with Anne Marie. So I think from that point of view, we will round off the show. It's clear to see that it's an exciting time for Donegal as a whole. I even mentioned there the event Disrupt by the Sea that was carried out by Alpha Innovation, who also have facilities in Letterkenny being developed at the moment. So very exciting times ahead indeed for Donegal and the region itself. Anne Marie, it's been an absolute pleasure as always to speak with you today. And before you go, you know that we have a tradition here on the podcast of closing with a round of quickfire questions. So without further ado, we'll just get straight into it. First question, Anne Marie. Work from home or office?
Am I allowed to say both?
Yeah, you can say hybrid. Yeah.
Hybrid. But actually, no, my answer would have been home a while ago, but probably would be office now, actually.
Seeing the
more
benefits.
Towards, yeah.
Perfect. Apple or Windows?
Windows.
Very good. Email or phone calls?
It would have been email until the last 7 or 8 months, when I have made more phone calls than I have in probably the last 5 years. And I actually see the benefit of that now. So actually phone calls now, yeah.
Brilliant. Tea or coffee?
Coffee,
Brilliant.
For sure.
Hard copy or soft copy?
Oh, I think I'm converted now to soft copy. There are certain things where I still like to have a piece of paper so I can scribble things down, and I do write notes for myself so that I can go back. But yeah, I think I have mostly converted to soft copy now, yeah.
Brilliant.
I have to think of the trees as
well.
The
sustainability, exactly. So then we have Microsoft Teams or Zoom?
Teams. I don't know if that's just because that was the one I was using mostly when lockdown happened, but yeah.
Brilliant. LinkedIn or Twitter, or what's now called X?
LinkedIn, for sure.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Oh, I'm a night owl, unfortunately.
Same as that.
Trying to convert myself, but it's not going well.
Reading or podcasts?
Reading, mostly, yeah. Although I'm just veering into the podcast as well.
Yeah.
I used to spend a lot of time in my car, and I used to listen to more podcasts, but yeah.
The commute's obviously not as long anymore.
The commute's pretty short these days. So that's another plus.
Time blocking or winging it?
Winging it for sure. In an idea, I like the idea of time blocking. It just, in current work environment, it's definitely jumping from one thing to the other and getting whatever needs to be dealt with.
Being adaptable and flexible. Exactly. So more or less than 8 hours sleep? Less,
unfortunately. Another thing that needs to be worked on.
Brilliant, Anne Marie. That concludes the quickfire round of questions and our podcast episode today. So again, I'd like to just thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us all. We will add the contact and the email addresses and so on for Anne Marie and the Inishowen Innovation to the notes of the podcast episode. So Anne Marie, thank you very much again. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Alison.
Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to be notified about future podcasts. Please feel free to get in touch with us on social media and let us know if you found this episode beneficial. You can find us at WestBIC on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram. If you would like to hear more about our available supports, please get in touch via our website, www.westbic.ie. And of course, stay tuned for our next podcast episode.